We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Check your workstation for the details.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 87 today for the Chinese Grand Prix in Season 5. You guys did miss the previous episode, then the Bahrain Grand Prix, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one. Quite a bonkers episode in terms of strategy there and the race result, but heading to this one then, really unfortunate. It's the first failure of an R&D part I've had in a long while in the career mode here, and really annoying because I wasn't even maybe going to buy this part last episode, but I just thought last minute I will buy this one and instead will save money later on for a drag reduction update. But yes, the minor rear downforce update that I bought has failed in the car, so we plateau going into this one, and unfortunately McLaren look to make, I think that's a major upgrade. The scaling's a little bit skewed now because Williams are so far down the performance chart and the top 4 teams are so high. The scaling of the actual chart has got a little bit wonky in terms of it's harder to tell now when it's a minor, major and ultimate upgrade, but I think that's a major upgrade from McLaren because it takes them from level pegging with Red Bull for the second and third fastest car to the fastest car now, potentially on paper ahead of Renault. So we'll see. They've had a tough time in Australia and Bahrain to really be in the mix there. They've been there in qualifying there or thereabouts, but they really haven't shown their true hand in the race. So maybe it's their time to shine here at Shanghai. But for us, we might be on the back foot. Obviously, last season, China was one of those circuits where the car turned up and was surprisingly really amazing on its tyres, pace-wise as well, race pace-wise. So I'm hoping that we'll have more of that, but really annoying that that failure did fail on us because I was looking forward to that. So maybe running a little bit of a lower rear wing. We go into Q1 then without that update and overcast conditions at the moment, so just trying to do the best job we can. It takes us 2 runs on the same set of ultra-soft tyres to actually get through there. Time is very tough in Q1. It seems very glitchy Q1 is around Shanghai. Seeing some other career modes as well. The same thing happening with those timesheets in the first qualifying session. But we get through nonetheless, thankfully, they're just about in P15. Literally the last position we could have hoped for there. And so we go through into Q2 and the sun is out. So I was hoping maybe that would heat up the track a little bit and maybe our car would perform a little bit better in those conditions. But I don't know if you can tell, but I certainly felt a lot of raw understeer in the car. Even though I'm running pretty much, I think, the same setup as I did last season, the car felt it had a lot more understeer in it through these long corners. And so I come across the line on my first flying lap in Q2, and it's only good enough to get me P10. And I feel the need to go out for a second flying lap then. Otherwise, I'm a little bit scared I won't make it into the top 10 shootout. So I'm going to have to burn another set of ultra-soft tyres, unfortunately. And even then, I didn't really gain too much time in Sector 1, just marginal. We gained a bit more time in Sectors 2 and 3, so we do make it into Q3, then eventually across the line up into P6. Sebastian Vettel, though, was a shock. He did not make it out of Q2, so you can see actually my worry that I wasn't going to make it out was kind of valid because Vettel did not. But I guess, I don't know, he got held up in traffic or didn't set a clean lap time because he was woefully off the pace down in P15, the last man in the session, basically. So that's a little bit worrying. So we'll see how it goes in the top 10 shootout. But it seems for some reason our car, unlike Season 4, our car's turned up to Shanghai and has lost pace. And it was actually last episode, Bahrain, where our car gained the mysterious time gain because it looks like it's a very strong showing from Renault, especially McLaren as well, and Red Bull Racing is, in fact as well. And the pace already, the lack of pace was kind of confirmed to me through the last corner there, slamming the bollard as well as we kind of cut the curb a little bit across the line. And it's only been enough for P10, and we're woefully off the pace. It was a slower lap time than my Q2 lap time, so there's also that. But in the end, that wouldn't even matter. That would have maybe got me up into P8, P7 maximum. Obviously, there is a little bit of a glitchiness to the times here and there, but you can see how strong both the Renaults, the McLarens, and Red Bulls are. So we have some kind of big head-scratching to do in terms of both myself and Sebastian are way off the pace. And for some reason, one season on, this car is not working around Shanghai the same way it did last season. And McLaren look really strong. Van Dorn, obviously, second place as well. That's how you know the McLaren car is pretty good, because generally on the game, Alonso's AI is so much further ahead than Van Dorn, so both of them lock out the front row. So definitely those major upgrades have worked, won this for McLaren into this race, so I think it might be a good race day for them. We've also maybe got some rain for Sunday, so I don't know how that's going to play out into everything. Might be actually a negative for us rather than a positive, but we'll have to just see how it comes as we get to it. So let's go to the full grid then, but I honestly don't think it's going to be as good of a time as we had here last season, honestly, but we'll just have to make the best of it, so let's get into it.
Ever since the Sauber of Felipe Massa passed Jenson Button into Turn 1 at the very first Chinese Grand Prix in 2004, Shanghai has consistently provided close racing and extraordinary memories. It's where Lewis Hamilton effectively lost the title in his rookie year, and it's where Nico Rosberg claimed Mercedes' first win of the modern era in 2012. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before the braking zone of turn 14. Joining me once again to take you through this race is the effervescent Anthony Davidson, and I'm very much looking forward to it getting underway. You raced here, of course, didn't you, back in your Super Aguri days in that infamous Chinese Grand Prix of 2007?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't last that long though, unfortunately. Qualifying had gone pretty well, but my brakes failed quite early in the race, around lap 10 or 11, something like that. And of course, back in 2004, I was the very first Formula 1 driver to complete a lap of this circuit. Just thought I'd mention that for you, Crofty, like a good stat. It's a fairly tough circuit on the brakes here though, you know, there's that long back straight down into turn 14, and then you got turn 6 and 11, they're quite heavy as well. On top of that, managing your front tyre wear is always a challenge around here, so there's a lot to keep in mind during the Grand Prix.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Fernando Alonso has a good view of turn 1 from his pole position slot, and it's Stoffel van Dorn in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, and Hamilton, Leclerc, Hartley, Gasly, and the engineer, Verstappen, Magnussen, Romain Grosjean and Ericsson, Perez, Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas, Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So it's pretty overcast here on the grid, and so like I said, there is going to be some rain expected in this race, about halfway through I would say, or maybe a little bit earlier. So we're going to start off obviously on the set we qualified in Q2, the ultra soft tyres. Usually we'll try a one-stop going to mediums by stretching that first stint, but because we know it's going to be raining at some point 2/3 of the way maybe into this race, or 1/3 rather, we're going to pit onto soft tyres pretty early, maybe lap 4 or 3, trying to get an undercut that way because we know everyone's going to have to make one more pit stop anyway. So here we go, let's get into it. So 5 red lights to what might be quite a difficult Chinese Grand Prix for us today from P10 on the grid. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. Initially quite a good getaway in first and second gear. They're closing on Brendan Hartley with a bit of slipstream there, but then as we climb up the gears, Gasly gets on the gas and round the outside of his teammate. They're going to try and force a move on the outside. Hartley does nicely to send one down the inside of Leclerc, but that sends me off a little bit there, so I had to brake quite momentarily in mid-apex there to avoid a collision with Leclerc. And now we're trying to desperately be side by side with Gasly. Doesn't work out though. Big snap of oversteer, and the car's feeling quite unsettled at the moment. Is now behind us. We look behind with Verstappen and Magnussen. I think that was fighting as we now dive one big time down the inside of Gasly. Didn't expect to make the move, but he was so slow into that right-hander that we're going to try it. But then look at the acceleration that Toro Rosso is getting. We tried to find some space on the outside, but Gasly does really well to just pinch us enough on the right-hand side there where I have to give up the position. I have a little look for a split second on the left-hander, but not going to work out. And instead, I'm now going to be hampered maybe by the exit on Verstappen. Meanwhile, while his teammates in third place chasing after that 1-2 still for Fernando Alonso and Van Dorn in the McLaren. But here goes Verstappen. What did I say? That run off that double left-hander there. Verstappen really good under braking, and now through the long right-hander, we just about managed to get the place over him there without making any contact. But now on the long back straight, let's see, he might have a good enough slipstream, but the Ferrari engine should have enough in the tank there to pull us through. But saying that, the slipstream pretty damn good at this stage of the race. That's where I was hoping the rear downforce would come in handy, because then I could run a lower rear wing on this setup and potentially actually gain some straight line speed effectively. But now instead we're going side by side, and Verstappen is going to overtake me to the last corner. And so at this stage I don't have much race pace here on heavy fuel. Neither does Vettel. He's behind both Haas cars and the other Sauber of Ericsson at the moment, so both of us not doing too well at the start of this Grand Prix. We have a little bit of a lunge to the inside of Verstappen. We're going to try a luck, but Verstappen is so aggressive there. I don't know what on earth he's doing there. I was well alongside him. He squeezes us completely off onto the grass there. And so I'm left now to fight maybe with Magnussen and Grosjean, who are now right up my chuff. And you can see in the background, like I said, Vettel is still behind Ericsson. As now we move on later onto lap 2, we've got yellow flags up ahead there. Looks like our car's going to retire in a very awkward position just off the exit there. And so everyone takes avoiding action. A tighter line needed, and Hamilton spewing away with engine smoke there. And so that's been an engine failure for the Mercedes man. So Hamilton will be out of the Chinese Grand Grand Prix very early on then. And so as we move on towards lap 3, like I said, we're going to pit early for the soft tyres because there is no risk in trying a 2-stop because everyone will be pitting in eventually for intermediate. So there's actually more of a cause to pit off these slower ultra-soft tyres because these tyres really aren't that great. Every time we pull off the 1-stop here in previous seasons, it's always been a compromise, but a compromise we know we're going to gain big time from a lesser pit stop. But now, obviously, in this scenario, there's not going to be that gain of time of a lack of a pit stop. So we come in, then everyone actually stays out, to my surprise. So we might actually gain quite a decent undercar here if we're lucky. They fight enough, maybe, and go side by side through those winding corners of Sector 2. But come in for the set of soft tyres, then yellow wall, and obviously no one else with me, so I'm not going to get held up in the pit lane then. And so it's just a case of trying to do the best job we can. But at this stage, I really got to say, it is looking baffling, and it's looking very weird and worrying how there's such a lack of pace or race pace between myself and Vettel. Obviously, I didn't have the best getaway on lap 1 and got kind of bullied out of on the corners there on lap 2 as well. But Vettel, you know, being stuck behind the Sauber and the 2 Haas cars, clearly don't have much pace compared to last season here at Shanghai. Meanwhile, it's a 1-2 for the McLarens there. Alonso leading Van Dorn, of course, from pole position there. Behind them is Daniel Ricciardo, the better of the 2 Red Bull cars. Then you got Hülkenberg and Carlos Sainz chasing off. Then you got Hartley doing a great job ahead of Charles Leclerc, Gasly, Verstappen, and then of course the usual kind of train that was behind me. But we swing through now the last corner. We swing through now on the last corner. Finally, some of those guys in that train making pit stops on lap number 6. So we've been on these tyres now for 2 more laps than everyone else, and so we are going to try and jump a Toro Rosso if we can. Gasly, who was 2 positions ahead of us, we're going to try and get around the outside of him. Verstappen is ahead of Gasly then. So in that kind of phase of the Grand Prix of after I made a pit stop, looks like Verstappen went on and chased after Pierre, overtook him, but I've jumped him at the same time. So kind of no real loss in terms of we're still behind Verstappen, but obviously we did jump 1 car technically, so we're up into P13 now with still some people yet to make pit stops. So Gasly is going to continue to fight me there, and just in the same place Verstappen made the move on me, he's going to try the same thing on the outside of the long right-hander. You can see it's starting to rain already a little bit. If you look close enough on the halo there, you can see the spits of rain, and so Gasly does get the traction, unlike Verstappen on me on that right-hander. But we come back at him. DRS still enabled at this stage of the Grand Prix, so the FIA don't think it's too dangerous right now as the rain is just starting to come out, spitting at the moment, but it is getting a bit greasy. I can feel that underbraking there, the car feeling a little bit floaty on the force feedback on my wheel. So we're going to come through now on lap 7. I suspect finally some people will come in. We're going to gain some more positions then and be up back into the top 10 perhaps. But honestly, at this stage, because the rain's come down a lot earlier than I thought so, maybe it's a missed chance that we should have stayed out longer on ultras and maybe gone straight onto inters, because I thought the rain was going to come out on lap 10, not lap 7. And so now Gasly's sending one down the inside as now these soft tyres aren't working too well, and the Ferrari's not feeling too great. It's kind of feeling like a boat in a way in some of these corners, especially the first 2 in Sector 1, as we just about keep it ahead of the Frenchman there in the Toro Rosso. He's got some company there right behind him as well. And now onto the main straight there. Gasly's going to have the DRS. It's still enabled, I think, so we're overtake mode and ERS to try and defend from him. He's going to be on the outside. We defend to the inside there, but we're really late on the brakes and go deep, and so Gasly is going to get a great switch back on us there. We try to get the power down as early as we dare. Vettel right behind us, so Vettel's actually done some great driving to recover and get past those Haas cars and get close to us actually, because he hasn't been that close the entire Grand Prix so far, but we're still neck and neck with Gasly. And here comes Vettel flying out of nowhere. It's 3 wide. Vettel on the inside there. We're on the outside. We've been pushed off, and we just don't have the grip anymore because the rain really now is starting to properly fall in this racetrack there. You can't really quite tell it from these camera angles, but the grip levels were not great, and we just about keep ahead of the Haas. But Vettel now has done the double overtake ahead of Gasly there. You can see we're struggling just to keep the car in a straight line, so by the end of this lap I would not be surprised if we're going to try and come in for the set of intermediate tyres on lap 8. So really now I'm kicking myself that we maybe didn't risk it for a chocolate biscuit and stayed out on ultras, because had I known the rain was going to come out this early, I would have stayed out on ultras and just tried to risk going on to inters and dodging this kind of extra pit stop anyway. Instead, we're trying to fight Gasly hammer and tong now on the left, on the right. Not working out though. We just don't have the grip anymore to make a confident dive bomb to the inside of Gas. Even he himself is losing the rear end, and so we come through to the end of that lap, and we are going to come in for intermediates. And so this is a real gutting moment, because if we did just try and take these ultras to lap even 7, we could have pit 1 lap earlier than we are right now and just risked it on a drier track on intermediate, but we would have saved ourselves 1 entire pit stop, and instead of being down in P11, we could have been at least up into maybe P5, depending on the pace of the cars up ahead, of course. and so we just missed that chance. And in a race like this where clearly our car's not going too well, and we need kind of every bit of strategy advantage we can get, so a missed opportunity there, and so we just have to make the best of these conditions. But now it's going to be intermediates for the entire rest of the Grand Prix, and like I've said, historically I'm not too great in the wet compared to the dry against the AI, especially this year. The AI is just so amazing in the intermediates and full wet conditions, and so I don't know how much hope I really have out for this entire Grand Prix. As we come through on towards lap 10, we're going to overtake some cars that are yet to come in for those intermediates. We're actually going to jump Sebastian Vettel because he opted to stay up for one more lap on the dry tyres. So there's some good news in that department. I'm going to beat my teammate here up in P11, but Gasly is still out ahead of us, and ahead of him is a major gap to Hartley. And really, for the next stage of the Grand Prix, it was just a straight fight between me and Sebastian Vettel. The Toro Rossos, both of them just waltzed away, and so we're just fighting Vettel pretty much down this entire back straight. We defend to the inside there as Vettel's going to take the outside line. No DRS, just pure slipstream and under braking. Both of us having some issues there with some lockups maybe in the spray kicking off the tyres. We just about managed to hang on there to P11, but we're not even hanging on for any points just about now. But as we go through the last corner, I think we've got one final person maybe making a pit stop here. Yes, there we go, Sergio Perez. So we are going to in fact actually be fighting for a single point, but pretty much it's near enough. We're just fighting for the wooden spoon at this point here between teammates here at Ferrari. Unfortunately, quite an embarrassing kind of situation compared to last race where we did that amazing strategy to win the Grand Prix. But at the moment then, Fernando Alonso leads the way from Dan Ricciardo, who's managed to jump Stoffel Van Dorn in third place. Then Carlos Sainz in fourth, doing great to be ahead of his teammate, the reigning world champion Nico Hülkenberg, in fifth place so far. It's not been a great season for Sainz with two bad, unlucky races there. And then behind Hülkenberg was Charles Leclerc, the Toro Rosso, Brent Hartley, Verstappen, Gasly, and then, like I said, it's myself and Sebastian Vettel close on track. I just can't get anywhere near to chasing after Gasly, and Vettel can't do anything to really overtake me at this stage, so pretty much we're just staying put in this P10 and P11 position. But the thing is, I'm not really even holding up Vettel that much because he can't genuinely overtake me at this stage. He can get close to overtaking me. As you can see, he tries to get on the inside there. We're going to squeeze him on the right and then go back to the racing line on the left. We're going to brake a little bit early, try and get a cutback line. It's going to be a really nice switchback move on him there, and we're going to get back up into P10. But the thing is, through sectors 1 and 2, I've got enough pace to just be ahead of him, and the only place he's getting a chance to overtake me is on that back straight. He tries again on lap 16, but the exact same thing pretty much, apart from this time I squeeze him to the point where I actually get behind him and get to the inside. Then we have a bit of a shimmy and shake as we jostle for position into the hairpin there, but ultimately again we out traction him and get up into P10, and the same thing then for the rest of the lap on sector 1 and 2. We'll just remain ahead of him, able to just do the job in the corners. So we're kind of at a stalemate in a way. We're just kind of waiting for some sort of miracle, I would say, honestly, with about 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix. And then something that's going to make our race maybe even more pedestrian on lap 17 is going to be my engineer telling me some information about Vettel.
They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
So Vettel's got an issue and might be slow potentially now for the remainder of this race, and you're about to see that maybe as we go through into the again the back straight. And usually obviously we saw Vettel being right up close to me trying some passes, but now we get away from there, out traction him even despite going opposite lock to control the car. If I look behind me, already we've gained time on him, and then down this entire back straight he's going to get nowhere near us compared to how he went before. Obviously we've broken the toe, but we did that both times as well beforehand. We moved back to the racing line and he's still not really getting on us too much there, and so that's a bit of a shame for him and a bit of a shame for the team. But at the same time, the only person he can overtake at the moment in this race is me for the last points pay position, so it's not that much of a pain in the arse, but it just kind of adds to the misery of this entire race really for the entire team. The only saving grace might just be here as we come across the line. There's actually a virtual safety car that comes out for Nico Hülkenberg being out of the Grand Prix. So the man who is looking pretty damn good at the start of this season, a win obviously and an okay result at Bahrain, was second place in the championship obviously by only a couple of points behind me now, is out this Grand Prix with an engine failure it looks like. But that's not actually the good news. The good news was we're up into P9 now because we've got some people making pit stops there. We're up into P8 because we overtake Hülkenberg's car effectively on track. That's the point of the track where he retired. But Hartley there made a pit stop, and so it looks like maybe some of these AI cars are going to make a second pit stop for a second set of inters. We're going to try and do exactly what we did at Bahrain and maybe risk it and stay out on the same set of intermediates and try and go to the end of the Grand Prix and gain some positions that way. But that is how Hülkenberg parked up there. Engine smoke at the back of his car, so pure engine failure there. A shame for him. But as we come back to our POV then on lap 20 with 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix, We're now up into P7 ahead of both Toro Rossos there. Verstappen's at also pit as well, and we come out just behind him. We can't actually probably overtake him because of the tyre wear we have, but we're going to try exactly what we did at Bahrain, apart from it's the wet version, basically. We're going to try and take these intermediates all the way to the end of the Grand Prix and try and see if we can cling on to P7 here against both Toro Rosso and get some more points that way. But unfortunately, unlike Bahrain, as we move on to lap 22, it's not going to work out exactly like that because Hartley's down my inside and he actually locks up and nearly takes me off circuit there because I was locking up, he was locking up, but he goes straight on nearly and almost just chaperones my car off circuit. So that was a little bit annoying. I felt a little bit cheated out of that, but you know, if he locked up, then that's fair play. He just made a mistake. He can't really do much about it. He's just a passenger at that point, but it did kind of take me wide and then it would allow Pierre Gasly to slipstream me and go down my inside here. And so as much as I wanted to make this risky strategy work out, in the end Gasly and Hartley just had too much pace on those fresher intermediate tyres. But I'm going to still be in P9 obviously with Hülkenberg's retirement there and get 2 points here today. We're going to stay out because now we've gone a bit too far into the Grand Prix, because if we do pit now we're going to come way behind Bottas and even Vettel here, so we pretty much have to commit to this strategy. Even though it's not going to work out and gain us any points, we have to commit to it and go to the end of the Grand Prix, which is a bit frustrating, but there we go. And so we come through to the last lap of the Grand Prix. It's going to be Fernando Alonso that wins the Grand Prix. A great dominant race for him, actually. I don't think he was even touched on that Grand Prix once, apart from maybe lap 1 with Van Dorn into turn 1 perhaps, but we're going to come home in P9, and what an all-round has been a pretty, well, frustrating day, I would say, to say the least here at Ferrari.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So Alonso, Ricciardo and Van Dorn on the podium. It's going to mean, actually, to my surprise, Ricciardo is going to be the one that takes a very commanding early lead now in the championship here. Obviously, he's actually been silently quite consistent in this season so far, with some decent points paying positions in the first 2 episodes and this one of Season 5. Alonso with the win catapults up into P4 right behind Nico Hülkenberg there. But Ricciardo, once again, I think, because I think in Season 4 he did the same thing. He took a commanding lead in Season 4. We all know how that worked out for him. So is that going to be a bad omen for the Red Bull team once again? Because Red Bull are now once again looking in a comfortable position in the Constructors' Championships with ourselves and Ferrari in P2. Renault, though, in 3rd, locked in a battle now with McLaren, maybe. And after that weekend, it's looking like we have a bit more of a fight now on our hands, with McLaren actually getting involved. But let's see, because obviously Alonso did win one race early on in Season 4 as well, and then McLaren were never seen again. So let's see if this is going to be a consistent challenge from the guys in papaya orange there. But obviously a good consistent day for the Red Bull team as well. But to go to the end of the episode then, one race to forget, really, I guess, for the entirety of the team, and once again our rep decreases with the team. It's not looking great, I can't lie. We're pretty much 2/10 of the bar down on the left-hand side, so I honestly, I think I need to win like multiple races in a row at some point this season to get that reputation back up here at Maranello. Despite being way ahead of Vettel now in the championship already, yeah, it's not looking great for the reputation. If this was real life, it would be a very hostile environment back at the factory, I would say. But we're going to finally redo that minor upgrade then on the rear downforce. I can't even afford yet the ultimate drag reduction, so I may as well fix the part that broke, basically. We have to wait one more entire race before we can even purchase the ultimate upgrade for the drag reduction and the aerodynamics. So again, we might be on the back foot to the next race because other teams like McLaren might just come in with upgrades now. If Renault and Red Bull upgrade and McLaren upgrade again, we might be in a bit of hot water, maybe fighting the Toros's Mercedes cars. But obviously Baku, anything can happen around there, you know, crashes, safety cars. So I'm hoping that we can have a bit of a hectic one to help our chances there at Azerbaijan. But guys, if you did enjoy this video nonetheless, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do subscribe for weekly full-on content. I'm aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.